How is it going, everyone? Well, how about a news story that has sent shockwaves not just in the gaming world, because I think it extends far beyond the gaming world, but certainly games are involved, game studios are involved, but Netflix has acquired Warner Brothers Discovery. We knew that Warner Brothers Discovery was up for sale. There was a lot of speculation. Was it going to be Paramount? I think after the EA acquisition by the Saudis, people thought that the Saudis could get involved as well. And could you imagine if the Saudis ended the year with both EA and Warner Brothers under their umbrella? EA more relevant in the games world, but obviously Warner Brothers has a lot of marquee studios under them. But in fact, Netflix will be acquiring Warner Brothers in a $72 billion deal that is expected to close. Previously announced separation of Warner Brothers Discovery's Global Networks division, Discovery Global, into a new publicly traded company, which is expected to be completed in Q3. The acquisition will bring franchises and shows and movies such as The Big Bang Theory, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, The Wizard of Oz, and DC Universe to Netflix's extensive portfolio, as well as brands like HBO and HBO Max. On the video game side of things, you do have Warner Brothers Game Studios, including Avalanche Software, NetherRealm Studios, Portkey Games, Rocksteady Studios, TT Games, WB Games Boston, and WB Games Montreal. You've got WB Games New York and WB Games San Francisco, all going under the Netflix banner, and obviously that for our channel is going to be the most interesting thing to talk about, let's put it that way. But also on the basis of, man, I'm not even a big TV show guy these days, but when you're talking about IP such as The Big Bang Theory, The Sopranos, and Game of Thrones, and you've got Harry Potter, DC Universe, all of that going under the Netflix umbrella, that is a massive, massive acquisition. I mean, it's a $72 billion acquisition. Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos noted this in a press release. Our mission has always been to entertain the world. By combining Warner Brothers' incredible library of shows and movies, from timeless classics and modern favorites, you've got culture-defining titles like Stranger Things, K-pop, Demon Hunters, and Squid Games, and then obviously on the WB side of things, you've got Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, etc., etc. We'll be able to do that even better. Together, we can give audiences more of what they love and help define the next century of storytelling. Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters continued, noting this acquisition will improve our offering and accelerate our business for decades to come. Warner Brothers has helped define entertainment for more than a century and continues to do so with phenomenal creative executives and production capabilities. With our global reach and proven business model, we can introduce a broader audience to the worlds they create, giving our members more options, attracting more fans to our best-in-class streaming service, strengthening the entire entertainment industry, and creating more value for shareholders. Also, Warner Brothers Discover President and CEO David Zaslav, which I know Zaslav isn't everybody's favorite, he noted today's announcement combines two of the greatest storytelling companies in the world to bring even more people the entertainment they love to watch the most. For more than a century, Warner Brothers has thrilled audiences, captured the world's attention, and shaped our culture. By coming together with Netflix, we will ensure people everywhere will continue to join the world's most resonant stories for generations to come. Now, obviously, if we talk about this from a Netflix side of things, the assumption would be that HBO Max is gonna get unified with Netflix. Now, could they keep HBO Max as a separate subscription service alongside Netflix? Yeah, absolutely. I think at some point it's all gonna get baked in together, and you know what that means? You don't do a $72 billion acquisition, you don't acquire all of this stuff, and prices stay the same forever. Nuh-uh. That's not gonna happen, and I know Netflix has been going up in price already. Guys, these subscription services are just getting more and more expensive, but if you're talking all of the content from HBO Max is gonna be baked into Netflix, there is going to be a better value proposition, but we'll see how that turns out. You know, when you're talking about subscription services that are going to $30, $32, $35, I really think there's a certain threshold that every subscription service will ultimately crack, and that is the point where people have to pause for a second. You know, there was the subscription services at $10 to $15 that I think a lot of people would just keep passively running, and they wouldn't really think about it in the sense that, dude, it's 10 to 15 bucks, I don't care. Once you get to $25, $30, $35, that's something that you actually have to think about, and it creates a little bit of a pause. I think Netflix is one of those services that everybody has, and that threshold of $10 to $15 is obviously quite a bit higher, just because people value Netflix that much, but it will hit that threshold at some point if it goes up to, let's say, $35, $40. If it's $40 at some point, which I don't rule out the possibility in 10 years as the dollar fluctuates that it can reach $40, I don't put that out of the realm of possibility whatsoever. These companies are there to continue making more and more money. But talking about the things that we care about, Warner Brothers Games, that's a lot of studios, especially when you're talking about Rocksteady Studios has been working on a new Batman Arkham. You saw how Suicide Squad ended. Since then, they have been working on a new Batman Arkham game. Portkey Games probably working on Hogwarts Legacy 2. WB Games Montreal, I would imagine, is working on something DC related as well, and a new superhero game there as well. So you've got some premier studios, and yes, while Netflix is getting into gaming, they aren't getting into gaming to that extent, at least at this point. I know that Red Dead Redemption just came out on Netflix, but it's been a lot of smaller scale games that I definitely appreciate. Games like Valiant Hearts' sequel and Oxenfree 2. I loved Oxenfree. Oxenfree 2, Netflix being involved with that. Alright, those are really cool projects, but now you're talking about Rocksteady being involved. Now you're talking about Portkey Games. Hogwarts Legacy was legitimately one of the biggest games of the last decade, and they are involved with Netflix as well. And how are they going to handle it? Are they going to be of the mindset that, hey, we're okay with these studios creating marquee, big budget AAA console games? Or would they rather them making games that have the ability to have a bit of an exclusivity window on Netflix, on the Netflix app or something to that effect? If you don't think that at some point it's gonna go through Netflix's head and they're gonna think about, hey, we would release Batman Arkham, let's say a new Batman Arkham game is in development, Batman Arkham, eventually we'll get that out on consoles, but man, what if we have a timed exclusivity window where it's a Netflix games exclusive, and we have that game being tailored to be playable on mobile devices and whatnot? And I get it, mobile devices are advancing, Where Winds Meet just dropped on mobile, alright, relax there, buddy, but you know, that idea, absolutely. Netflix isn't just gonna think about how are the games gonna be, you know, super valuable to these console players and the games that they're gonna be excited for. Remember, the idea is to give value back to Netflix subscribers, and if you have this umbrella of games, well, that's not the main thing that they're probably going to be focused on. They're probably focused on the IPs that they're getting access to from an entertainment media standpoint. From a game studio standpoint, that is the element that worries me the most. Dude, what if they look at Hogwarts Legacy and they're like, man, Hogwarts Legacy was such a big game on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series and PC. What if we take that game, you know, we'll eventually bring it out on the other PlayStation consoles and Xbox consoles, but what if we have that as a Netflix app exclusive for a little while? And again, these games would then have to be tailored, but they are now working with Netflix, and Netflix is gonna have their own ideas. I just offer that to you guys as an example. I don't have any evidence that that's gonna happen, but I would imagine the thought of that would go through their heads on how can they take these games and use that to offer value to Netflix and Netflix subscribers. Like, is that crazy of a take? I feel like that's something that absolutely could happen. Ultimately, I think that would be something that, let's say it would happen, I think it would be a colossal failure, and there's just too many game options that are available these days that if you're offering games that are designed a certain way to fit within the Netflix model and the Netflix app, I just think people are gonna be like, all right, no, I'll play something else. Like, I just don't think there are that many games that big enough, and we've seen it with the Epic Game Store, and we've seen games leaving Steam and whatnot, that it's really hard to get people to buy into these other platforms. And how many people are playing Red Dead Redemption via Netflix? I don't know. Is the investment worth the return? Maybe it is. I just think if they did go down that route, it might last for a little bit. I would assume it would be a bit of a failure, and then either, you know, the games would ultimately go back to being released the way they were, or unfortunately, you know, we've seen acquisitions happen and studios get shut down. That could absolutely happen as well. But this is so early along that this is all speculation. This is all throwing dart at the wall. I'm just giving you guys potential scenarios that could play out with this story, because it's gonna be one of the biggest stories to monitor in 2026. I know most people think at this point Warner Brothers is kind of cooked, and you know, they're not doing themselves any favors from a game standpoint when it comes to releasing games like Suicide Squad. Gotham Knights wasn't all that well received. Rocksteady is absolutely washed as a studio, so it is what it is. It's still gonna be one of the more interesting stories to cover, and gigantic media acquisitions like this is gonna send ripple effects to multiple industries, not just the gaming industry. And I think gaming is just kind of an accessory element to all of this, but that's what we cover on this channel, so obviously I'm gonna talk about that. That'll do it for me. Interested to hear what you guys think. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.